Swaminathan Aiyar joins us now. Swami sir, good morning. Thank you for joining us on expected lines. It is Donald Trump who has really given an iron fist to rest of the world. Fall in line or get ready. Do you think the tariff what has been imposed by US administration last evening, they are on expected lines or they are stronger than what the world was anticipating?
No, this is certainly, I mean, people expected, you might say, a little economic insanity, but this is economic insanity in spades. He called it Liberation Day. I think it's better to call it Recession Day or Stagflation Day. I mean, he completely ignores all the lessons of something called the Smoot Hawley tariffs in the early 1930s, which were imposed with a similar kind of rhetoric. It's an exactly similar thing of economic independence, and we are going to make America great. It worsened the Great Depression much, much worse than it would have done. This is the kind of lesson taught in college to undergraduates. It appears to not hold sway with Mr. Trump and his entire Council of Economic Ministers. So what is this going to? This is going to, I'm pretty sure this will lead to retaliation. We are in the middle of trade wars. I do not think everybody else is going to take it lighter. What is going to be the overall impact? World GDP will slump, Indian GDP will slump, American GDP will slump. There is going to be a catastrophic dislocation of all kinds of global chains. People were used that, it will go from here to there, here to there. Now, on the basis of tariffs, everything will have to be recalculated. There will be all kinds of factories in places which can no longer export. Look at Apple. It has this large plant in India exporting to the USA. Will it be able to export with a high import tariff that they are now going to levy upon us? Very difficult. On the other hand, we have to see what happens in other places. Above all, his notion that the rest of the world is going to pay $600 billion in import duties, and this will enable him to cut import tax. He's going back to Mr. McKinley, President McKinley of 1896. All I can say is, sir, please do not get hung up on 1896. Look at 1930 and the Smoot Hawley things, which ruined your country and ruined the world. But I mean, it has been done. And I look upon this as a tragedy unfolding to which we cannot do anything. That is the big picture. The rest, there's a smaller picture of what happens to Apple, what happens to pharma, what happens to individual stocks. The main thing is that this is ruinous news for India, for the USA, and for the world economy. We are going into a recession.
But
so, Swami, tell me, in a world like this, we all know the fate of equity markets. We've already seen the futures fall the way they are in the US. Having said that, do you see a shift towards, say, bullion or cryptos? And what's going to happen to the dollar? Because that's really going to dictate how flows are going to move across the world.
Mr. Trump is clear that he wants to make America great again by having very high tariffs, which he believes will lead to a large amount of shifting of manufacturing capacity back into the USA, like in the good old days of 1896. I mean, that is his vision, believe it or not. And if that is the vision, it is disaster. As for what is going to happen to the dollar, when you have a 10% flat import duty, that is in effect like a 10% devaluation. I mean, in terms of the currency. So Mr. Trump is trying, on the one hand, to make the dollar a little softer. No doubt about it. That is part of the game. But on the other hand, if you see the overall effect of the dislocation and of the high tariffs themselves, what it's going to do to supply chains, what it's going to do to demand. In America itself, he was elected in order to beat inflation. And this is going to lead to more inflation with a recession, stagflation. So Mr. Trump says we must all be prepared for a little pain. And after that, America will become a great manufacturing power. I would say no, there will be more than a little pain. There will be a lot of pain. And afterwards, this will be remembered as a day of economic insanity.
Swami sir, let me be a compulsive optimist here. And if I'm a compulsive optimistic, I would say that look, for India, the largest export component is IT. Nothing's come on IT. Second is pharma. Nothing has come on pharma. So on a relative basis, some would say that India is in a better place because for China now the tariffs are at 55%. For India it's 26%.
No, you can say that in an ongoing tragedy, there was a supporting actor who didn't do as badly as the hero. So, you can say that we will not be as badly hit as Japan or Korea or some others. But all that you're saying is that while everybody is going to be wounded, India may be a little less wounded than others on some areas. But what happens to your entire PLI? What happens if Apple suddenly says, I'm going to close down, I'm not going to do anything? Will any other foreign manufacturer trust whatever is happening in American policy to invest largely in India on capacity which is to be exported? This is, so as I said, every other country is going to face that similar problem. If all that you are saying is that, others will be hit to the extent of so many $1 billion and we will have a few $1 billion less. Yes, that may be true. But I would say at the end of it all, you are going to be badly hit.
But Swami, let's try and analyze what does it mean for equity markets, right? From what you're saying is, and coupled with, of course, the kind of high valuations that US is already sitting at, it seems like a given that the US equity markets are going to go through a steep correction phase and an elongated one at that. But what about markets like India? We've already been through that entire churn of corrections and the valuations are somewhere now around fair levels. If the dollar is to weaken, maybe flows could come back to India as they already have through the month of March.
Look, what has happened is not some small change. What happens is an attempt to completely crash and restructure the world economic structure. So it's not a question of whether a thing has gone up for 1 day or 2 days. The impact of this is going to last a very long time. If we get into a recession, and maybe a deep recession, all the short-term things that people are talking about will cease to matter. If you just look further out, what will Mr. Trump do if there is retaliation? His answer, I think, will be even more retaliation. So you have a situation which is by no means complete. This is like the opening salvo in a trade war. Please do not believe that this is the end. This is not even the beginning of the end. It is the end of the beginning, to phrase Winston Churchill. So, please don't think that it's over after this. After this, there will be retaliation, there will be further wars. As America gets into trouble, Trump will more and more try to blame other people for it. So I predict a long, dark 2025.
Okay. All right, Swami sir, really appreciate your time and thank you for joining us. Interestingly,
if you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.